So who here registered for this event on Luma? Raise your hand. Woo! Everybody. Okay. So I built a Luma competitor called Fluma. It's fake Luma. If this pans out, I might leave Cloudflare. Let's see. It's as many tools are becoming these days. It's an MCP-first app that allows us to create events, register for them. So let's try this out. I'm going to create an event for MCP night tonight at 5 p.m. at Regency Ballroom. Okay, so here we go. We successfully called the tool to create an event, and an event was created. Yay! Now, but can you guys spot the little fun little error that it made? So tonight is not, in fact, December 19th, 2024. Michael earlier said that it was 2015. I don't know if anyone caught that. So it's not just LLMs that are bad at knowing what date it is. But this is something that we could fix up with a bit of code or better prompting, right? But this is also not a very exciting demo. It would be if it was, in fact, December 19th, 2024. But it's been a whole year of MCP since it was launched. And so we see these kinds of demos all the time. And what's been really interesting, actually, over the past year has been going from running these little demos to thinking about, okay, what does building real agents look like? And one of our goals at Cloudflare is actually to become the best place for building agents. So we've spent the past year building lots and lots of them. And as you get deeper and deeper into building a complex agent, you end up having a lot of conversations that are a little bit like that. In other words, you start to think about, okay, do I have like a master agent that does all the thinking and then the tools do a little as possible? Or do I have the agent kind of do less and these tools basically become sub-agents? Now, there's one thing I know for sure, first of all, and it's that if dogs were to wear pants, it would definitely be the second one. Yeah, okay, but there's actually a second thing that I know. And it's that LLMs, as much as they've gotten better at tool calling, and really they've come a very, very long way. Otherwise, MCP wouldn't be possible at all. They will never be as good at tool calling as they are at writing code. And the reason for that, I just can't put it as beautifully as my colleague Kenton. The reason for that is actually quite similar to if you were to ask Shakespeare to take a crash course in Mandarin for a month and then asked him to write a play in Mandarin. Like, it will be good, it's bloody Shakespeare, but it's not gonna be his best work. And LLMs are kind of the same. They've been trained on all of the open source code that exists in the world. Think about every project that you've ever contributed to GitHub. It has been learning on that code. And then over the past year or so, we've said, or over the past couple of years, we've said, get good at tool calling. But it's not the thing that's going to be natural to it. So we started thinking, okay, so LLMs are very good at writing code. How do we lean into that? How do we get them even better at doing the things that we want them to do? So I'm going to show you a demo tonight of something that we've been thinking about called code mode. Okay, so here on one side we have the MCP agent that we just called, and on the other side we have our code mode agent. And what the code mode agent is going to do is, instead of calling the MCP server directly, it's going to generate some code based on the MCP server's definition that it has exposed, and then call that code as it would any other API. So let's try the same prompt from before. Create an event for MCP night tonight at 5 p.m. at Regency Ballroom. Okay, So here we have a similar thing where we've generated an MCP night event, but on this other side, what we did instead is we generated this code. And the nice thing about code is it has access to functions like new date. So we can find out what the real date of tonight is and create an event for, actually, well, it's in UTC, not PST, but whatever. An event for tonight here at Regency Ballroom. But the really cool thing is, if I now compare the two and how many tokens they took, you'll notice that the code mode agent took 32% fewer tokens than our MCP agent. Okay, but this is a very simple demo. So now let's try something a bit more complicated. I'm going to say create an event for every night in January 2026 for a tech meetup, all happening at the Cloudflare office team at 5 p.m. on topics, whoops, I have my little password thing that keeps getting in the way. Hopefully it can interpret what I meant. Relating to AI, MCP, data, compute. Let's fix up this little typo. Okay, so here we have a slightly more complex query, right? And you can see that our MCP agent is off to the races, and it's going, and it's making all of these 30 different tool calls. And on the other hand, we have our code mode agent, and it's come up with all these wonderful topics for all of these different events, and it's going to, on a loop, make a call to create an event for each one of these. So this is the part of the demo where I get really stressed out every single time I've run it, because it does take a second. Guys, just be patient. It will work. Look at that. Okay, so look at that. So on both sides, we've now created 31 different tech meetups, because that's the number of days that's in January. But now, let's take a look at how many tokens both of these consumed. 81% difference. Yeah, this is when you clap. So if you imagine using MCP for something like summarizing all of your customer tickets, and then also calling into Salesforce and all of these other tools, this is a lot more what it's going to look like than just making our little demos where we're just making 1 or 2 tool calls. Now, I want to give you a little peek behind the scenes of how all of this actually works. So for both of these agents, the request is going to come in, it's going to go into the agent, and from there, we will go into Cloudflare's AI gateway. This is what allows us to connect to different models. So this uses Claude Sonnet 4, but if tomorrow we want to use a new model that comes out, we can easily switch it out. And then MCP agent is going to call the MCP server directly, but what we're going to do in code mode is we're going to generate that code, and then we need a sandbox in order to execute that code. So that's what worker loader is going to do. And from there, we'll make the exact same call to the MCP server that's storing all of this data in Cloudflare's database, D1, which is based on SQLite. But let's take a closer look at this little bit. So we recently released something called Dynamic Worker Loader, and this is exactly what this does. So first we're going to take an execution ID. This is what's going to allow us to keep track of all of the different code that's been executed. And we're going to create a full-on worker with compatibility dates and compatibility flags and the code that we just generated, here it is over here. And we're going to call this code executor binding in order to execute this code. And what's really cool about this is that when I did that first demo, and even that second one, there's no noticeable cold start. You can actually spin up hundreds, thousands, millions, billions of these tiny little code sandboxes, because the technology that powers workers is actually a really, really perfect fit for this. And if we imagine a world where all of us are interacting with agents constantly, which I think we're already all starting to, and you need something that supports trillions of little code sandboxes that are able to spin up instantly so we don't have to wait and are able to also scale up, well, this is the perfect way to do it. Okay, so thank you all so much for joining. I will leave you all with 2 thoughts. The first one is code mode is in beta. It's in closed beta right now, but please do request access. We're trying to let as many people in as possible. And the second one is we're hiring for all sorts of different roles across Cloudflare, but also I'm personally hiring a PM to own the agents and MCP story at Cloudflare, and I suspect that you're sitting somewhere in this audience, so if that's you, please do reach out to me either on Twitter or over email. You'll find a way to contact me. So thank you so much, everyone.